Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is another one of our weekly guided reflection sessions where we're going to take about 40 to 50 minutes out of our day to simply just answer some simple questions about our life. And the purpose behind this is so that we're more thoughtful, more intentional in our actions moving forward in the trajectory we want to go in life, right? This is a really important thing to do if we're looking to get the most out of life and live our fulfilled dream of what that is. So we're going to start this session like we do every session, and that's 5 minutes of breathing. I'm going to set a timer, and all we're going to do for the next 5 minutes is breathe in and out. Now we want to kind of sit up straight on a level surface. And we're just breathing in and out. If thoughts come to mind, just let them pass. They're not important right now. All right, 5 minutes of breathing. Now, hopefully that recenters us, right? Gets us in a position where moving forward we can be clear and we have a blank canvas that we can work with. So this first question is, what are we grateful for? The question we always start off with because it's like the best the best way to like prime yourself for whatever is next is coming from a feeling of appreciation rather than like a feeling of debt or entitlement in a way. What are we grateful for? Great question to ask ourselves. I'm grateful for this space. We're recording in a new space. This is, we're in the farmhouse, and this is the study, the library. What's the difference between a library and a study, or a drawing room, or a writing room? My aesthetics, my tastes are influenced by like 19th century like wood, a lot of like wood and gold and like vintage. That's what I like. And when you look at these like miniature rooms, if you go to like art museums, there'll be like these labels of just like these rooms, and there'll be like a drawing room or like a library or a study, and I don't know the difference between them. But this is mine, a brief one, a temporary one, I would say. Eventually, I would like to have just like these old like wooden shelves in like kind of a dark room where I can like smoke cigars, have cool stuff, like this ship we have here. This, what is it, a 19th century ship? No, 17th century ship? 18th century ship. Spanish. The Española, no, Fragata Española. So we're doing our reflection session here. How do you like the space? That's fun. Now, there's one fly in this room that's buzzing around. And it's making a lot of noise. I don't know if you guys can hear it. What's something in the space you're in that makes it imperfect? You know, what's that one thing counter to what you want that it makes it imperfect, you know? Like, we could design our perfect space, but there could be a fly buzzing around who's calling for our attention when we're doing these breathing exercises for 5 minutes, right? But that's kind of beautiful, and it's at the same time. So what's that one small thing in the space you're in that makes it imperfect, but beautiful at the same time? It doesn't even have to be a space. Think of like what's one small thing that makes something imperfect and beautiful at the same time. And this could extend to a person as well. Maybe someone you love, or maybe friends, family, teachers, role models, influences. Musicians, artists, scientists, whatever it may be. That's kind of the beauty of life, is this imperfection. Right now I'm thinking of, I'm reading this book called Autobiography of a Yogi, and I'm almost completed with it. And I'm on this chapter where he's hanging out with Mahatma Gandhi. And Gandhi prescribes to this like non-violent way of life, which means this fly in the room that's buzzing around, if I had the same philosophy, I could not kill it, swipe it and kill it, because it is reverent. It is part of everything. And to exert violence towards something would go against that. Yeah, Gandhi. Interesting guy from what I know about him. Yeah, so what's a small thing that makes something we love imperfect? That's the thing about life. The imperfections make it fulfilling and beautiful. So this fly that's buzzing around, it's quite beautiful. It's it's just a little drop of water on the ocean that is this weekly guided reflection session. Now, this might be the first time that I've recorded one of these at night. It's night, it's dark out. So I don't know if my mood has been affected at all. Let's go a little deep now. Let's do a dive. How are you feeling? Scratch that. How are you? How are you? Really, how are you? I want you to write how you are. Now, it could be fantastic. Could be really dark. So some of us might be experiencing a euphoric, everything's going right now. We are hitting our stride. Others, we might be struggling a bit with any number of things. whether it's careers, school, family, relationships, maybe loss, sorrow. How are we doing? Let's expand on this a little bit. How do we want to be? How do we want to be? Really proud of myself right now because right before this recording, I was out in the middle of a farm field, and the weather wasn't cooperating during the spring, so a lot of farmers around here chose to take the crop insurance rather than plant late, because oftentimes the crops just aren't as good if you plant late. It was really wet. It'd be wet, and then it would dry, and then you get ready to go out in the field again. Oh, then it rains, and it's wet again. It was really bad. So this field has a lot of, it's just whatever happens. And it's like this field of these weeds that are called Queen Anne's lace. They're actually quite beautiful. It looks like lace, and they smell kind of nice. And I learned that you can make tea from, if you pick it and then you tie it as a bouquet and hang it upside down until, late fall or winter, then you can use it in tea. So I was pretty energized to do that. That was something I wanted to do all summer. And I was so energized by it that I researched a little bit on YouTube just about it, right? And then I learned there's something that looks very similar to Queen Anne's lace, but it's smaller, and it's called hemlock, and it's poisonous. So now I'm kind of dreading. I'm oh, what if I pick the wrong ones and then I poison myself in the tea? So every week I have this elaborate to-do list and whole organization structure, external brain. And every week I spend 5 minutes just picking a bouquet of Queen Anne's lace. And today I did it. I'll maybe update you a few months from now of how it tastes. So let's think of something that is so small. It's so small of a thing, but we've put off for so long. What is that? And have we taken initiative and have we just done it yet? If we haven't, how can we do it? What will be the driver, the force that will make us do it and get it done? So reflect on how that felt. If you did finally do that small thing. In my situation, feels great. Fantastic. And if not, why? What's going on? How can we just do it? A lot of times it's those small things in life, right? I was on the combine today. I've been on the combine all week. It's harvest season. So, harvesting soybeans today. Just out in the field. Something that's interesting and beautiful from my perspective is there'll always be like a hawk just chilling, just like hanging out with me in the field, always kind of like there. I've seen a lot of red-tailed hawks recently. Because when you go harvest, you take the crop off, now everything is exposed. So there's prey there, whether it's mice or rabbits or other things of that nature. There was this one time, what was it? Was it on last week? Last week, I think. So I'm going on the combine, and it has this reel, this like sickle. And I look up ahead, I'm like, what is that? And it's this hawk. And this hawk just like looks at me like this. Like, really? And he's got, in his claws, he has a rabbit. So here I'm still coming, the sickle's coming. And like the last minute, Mr. Hawk's like, okay, fine. And then he lets go of the rabbit and flies away. And this rabbit then is darting in front of me because it doesn't want to go over here because then it's exposed. So then it's going straight. But the rabbits, they kind of they run like side to side. I think it's because if something's coming down, it can't perfectly predict where it's going to be. But then it just stops. And so here I stop the combine and I'm waiting. I'm, 3 feet, the sickle and it's like scissors are like 3 feet behind it. And this rabbit is just posted there, not moving. I just saved its life from this hawk. And so now I have to get up out of the combine, climb down, and then chase this rabbit away to save its life again. I really appreciate that about nature, how it can be so kind of unpredictable and amusing and silly, but also like life-threatening and everything like that. So think of a time in your life that you interacted with nature in that way. Something spontaneous that was in the moment, and you were very present with it. You were aware of what's happening. You were focused on it. You were observing it. And maybe there was an interesting outcome. There's all these like mice scattering around, and here the hawk's just like chilling over there. And I'm like, bro, right here. Again, that's part of the non-violence that we discussed earlier, where this fly is still flying around. Yeah, squirrels right now are really active. I take walks in the woods nearly every morning, at least four days a week. And in the summer, the birds were really loud. They were always chirping. They were so active. And now the squirrels are so active and abundant. And I feel like it's partly too, I can hear them rustle a lot more because there's dead leaves on the ground and the leaves in the trees are a little stiffer, I think, so you can hear the movements more. And you see these bushy tails, and then there's chipmunks darting on the ground. But the birds aren't quite as loud. Or did they go south? Maybe they left already. Maybe it's vacant. So the squirrels are here to party now. All the birds are gone. All right, let's do our thing. And there's acorns on the ground, and they're so beautiful, these patterns, these like brown patterns. This is kind of my life right now. I'm very immersed in nature and very grateful for it, very humble. I feel very blessed. Life is kind of slowed down a bit. I'm looking to ramp it up though again. When was a time that we felt stuck in our lives? How did we proceed forward? How did we get unstuck? Actually, a tractor got stuck today in the field. We're hauling 2 wagons of soybeans going up a hill. It's going to happen. John Deere's got a lot of power, but if you're starting slow, going up a hill, it's just not going to happen. So how do you problem solve when you're stuck? Are you going to get down? Are you going to get frustrated and let that feeling of stuckness dig a deeper hole, where you're not only stuck, you're almost become trapped, right? The more you struggle, oftentimes, the deeper the hole gets. Exhibit A, a tractor. You keep trying, all of a sudden, the wheels, the tires will go farther and farther into the ground. So when we do feel stuck, we want to approach it. We want to breathe, like we practiced. Be calm and think, use our power of our mind, our reasoning to get the cogs going again, the gears going, so that we're moving forward again, no longer stuck. Or maybe our ideas or our mind provides some lubricant where we can slide through a lot easier without friction. There's this cat on the farm. There's this cat on the farm, and it's the most impressed I've ever been with a cat in my entire life. I've known a lot of cats. This cat started off as a wild cat, yunnin, like a wild kitten, right? And as she got a little older, she would gravitate towards humans. But then she would go back and she'd be wild. And eventually she maneuvered her way into being a house cat with an open door policy where she could be inside and then leave whenever she wanted, be gone for like 2 or 3 days, come back like nothing happened, just go lie down in her spot, like really like controlling the house in a way. And I thought, wow, it's really impressive. I've never seen a cat do that, where like on their own, they went from a wild cat to a house cat, but then also maintain their wildness, and they come and go whenever. And then one of her kittens actually is, I gave it to a friend in Chicago. So one of her offspring is, a pampered house cat in Chicago now. I think that's quite a legacy, quite a quite a ladder that they've climbed socially. Social climbers. It's cats. And after she had 2 litters of kittens, we got her spayed. So now when she goes off, she doesn't get pregnant when she comes back. But today I came in for dinner after I was on the combine, and she has a way about her. She really knows how to get you to like her. She'll always come up to you and rub on your leg. And her eyes are just so piercing, these like piercing green eyes. And I sit down and put my hand out, and she comes up. Quite a social climber. So let's think how we can apply some similar concepts in our own life. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean we desire to be social climbers, but how can we use our strengths to improve our station of where we're at, right? We discussed getting stuck earlier. Now, when we're stuck, a great thing to do is to think, what am I great at? What are my strengths? How can I employ those in a way that we can get unstuck, we can move forward, right? And say in this cat's case, his name is Kitty. We've had so many cats that we just don't name them. The last one we named was this kitten that got stuck in a wall. So then we called it Stucky. So Stucky was its name. Many cats. I've always been more of a cat person than a dog person. We've had dogs three separate times. I've seen every single one of them die. And 2 of them got hit by cars out here on the farm. But going back to employing our skills and our strengths, what are some of those strengths for you? Actually, last night I finished the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's with Audrey Hepburn. And, the cat reminds me of Audrey Hepburn, but more successful, I guess. Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's, she was a striver. She knew how to, she knew what she had, and she knew how to use it to her advantage, in a way. Oftentimes that's looked down upon, but I take kind of a nonconformist approach to that, and if not everything has to be so linear in life, or step-by-step, obvious, spoon-fed, scripted of how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to act. So if you can find unique traits that you have, skill sets, appearances, abilities, like, use it. You know what I mean? Just because it is not viewed as traditionally what you're supposed to do, like, it shouldn't stop you from going after those aspirations that you have. I really like these 1960s films from the 1960s. I've switched over to more of an analog life in that I don't watch anything on streaming anymore because I don't have Wi-Fi in the farmhouse. So no Wi-Fi here. And it's no big deal. Really doesn't matter to me. I go to the office. I have a separate space that has Wi-Fi, and then I work there and do certain things, and I do love the separation. But right now, then, it's, I'm watching DVDs, movies. And what I'd really like to do is maybe at the library, maybe there's some films from the 1960s. I'm a big fan of like the James Bond, Sean Connery 1960s films. The Breakfast at Tiffany's was 1961. You know what I have in my queue is Mary Poppins. I've always had like a crush on Julie Andrews. She's a real dynamite woman, really sophisticated, really really strong, and I like her stick-to-itiveness and her kind of optimism, her attitude. I think that was 1960s. I'm going to take a look real quick. Okay. We have Mary Poppins. This is the 40th anniversary. And this is 1964. So I like the film aesthetics from the 1960s because you have this lack of reliance on, I guess, technology, but like CGI, computerized effects. It's more so the beauty within a frame and the storytelling and like what you can create physically and tell a story that way rather than adding all this artificial stuff that wasn't there when it was filmed. You know what I mean? But this has some you know, what do you call it? Special effects and stuff too. But yeah, I think it's like the camera and the film. I feel like, I don't know, I'm attracted to that, like vintagey kind of aesthetic. So I think that's what I'll start watching tonight. I was thinking about, that's kind of what I do now is I wind down the night watching a DVD. Because before, and it's been incredible because before this, I'd be on YouTube or like any streaming thing, and it would take me 45 minutes to pick something. Because everything would always be like, am I not in the mood for this? Or what, so indecisive. But this, I just select one and I watch it all the way through. Usually halves, I'll do like halves, like 45 minutes or an hour. And then the next night, I come back. So let's think about how we consume films and television, and let's be a little bit more, let's just give it a little bit more thought. How are we consuming it right now? And is that how we want to consume? And, is that how we want to be? If not, like, how do we want it to be? You know what I mean? So this is just thinking about our consuming habits, in particular with more long-form media. Are they where we want them to be? And only you can decide that. Everything might be rosy and perfect, and you love it. Yeah, I think watching movies this way, more of an analog way, rather than using Wi-Fi and streaming and all these options available at once, has been gratifying. It's like I picked this one, I'm committed to this one, and I'm going to see it through. All right, our last question is, what are we energized for in the upcoming week? What are we energized for within the upcoming week? This has been a lovely reflection session. Just to kind of bring things full circle, there's been this fly that's been buzzing around the room, right? And it's been noticeable to me. I don't know if it is for you, but when I just looked down at my notebook, I realized that my fly was open. So perhaps that was a sign, a signal that connects the two, you know? Lately, I've been thinking more about these things, thinking in terms of seeing and understanding that connection. For example, I'm reading this book called Autobiography of a Yogi right now. I've been reading it for the past month, I would say. It's a big book. It's like 500 something pages. And randomly, yesterday when I was on the combine, I was researching podcasts. And I typed in Henry Miller. And it brought me to this episode with Tim Ferriss and Stephen Pressfield, and I listened to it. Big fan of both of those guys. And Stephen Pressfield, he's known for The Legend of Bagger Vance, but also The War of Art. One of my favorite books, I actually bought that book and gave it out to a number of my creative friends. I no longer have it, and because I gave it to a girl that I was dating. And I've learned not to lend out books expecting them back. Anyways, in this episode, they discussed the autobiography of a yogi. And the writer of it, and the foundation that he started, the school that he started. And so it's all these little connections, all these little dots and points. And our job is to connect those. First, see them, right? So if we're doing something over here, we see this, and then we're going about our day, and then we see that, and then we see how they're connected, right? We want to be open to these things because that's really what makes everything so much more fun. It becomes this journey and this kind of quest, and like challenge. It makes life joyful rather than just experiencing life like this, just going through the motions. When you're going through the motions, you're kind of like this. You're blinded, and you can't see those dots that we discussed. So we want to be more open. So for this next week, really focus on being open and being able to see those connections in a way, and connect them in whatever ways you want. But oftentimes it just comes naturally, and it's quite beautiful. So you are beautiful as well. Thank you for being here. Doing these small steps initially don't seem like much, but when you do them continuously, they add up. And I've been doing this over 6 years, and I've seen results. That's why I keep doing it. It's as effective. It works. When something works, it works. So thank you for being here and being part of this. We'll see you next time. Inspire the future.